In the depths of the Aurelian cluster, far beyond the mapped territories of the galactic civilizations, the station floated in an endless sea of color and light. The Elantri, a species of ethereal beings encased in shimmering energy shells, had maintained their isolated existence here for thousands of cycles. Their station, a crystalline structure suspended in the void, pulsed faintly, its translucent walls resonating with the collective hum of their shared thoughts. It was a place of profound silence, broken only by the occasional reverberations of psychic waves rippling through the atmosphere. Urshai, one of the leading researchers among the Elantri, hovered in the central observatory. Her form glowed faintly, a gentle blue hue that reflected her introspective and curious nature. Her tendrils of light stretched out, manipulating the holographic controls that floated in the air before her. The vast screen displayed a field of distant stars, their light cold and ancient. But amidst the familiar constellations, an anomaly blinked faintly, a signal, faint but persistent. She tilted her form, her voice resonating telepathically through the station. "I have something, a disturbance, no, a transmission." The others in the observatory turned toward her, their forms flickering in shades of violet, gold, and white. They communicated in a harmonious flow of psychic waves, each voice merging with the next. One among them, a senior researcher named Virek, pulsed a deep indigo, a color signifying both wisdom and skepticism. "Another dying star's echo, perhaps," Virek intoned, his mental tone measured and calm. "The cluster is full of such distractions." Urshai's glow brightened, a sign of conviction. "No, this is structured, intentional. Look here." With a wave of her tendrils, the faint transmission expanded across the holographic interface. The signal unraveled into a chaotic mix of sounds and visuals. The sounds were jagged, uneven, bursts of static interspersed with patterns that hinted at language. The visuals, a series of fluctuating images, were even more perplexing. Strange figures moved across an unfamiliar landscape, their forms solid, their movements rapid and deliberate. They gestured with limbs made of matter, not light, their faces marked by expressions of emotion. The Elantri, accustomed to the subtleties of psychic resonance, found the images jarring, almost crude. "What is this?" another voice asked, its tone sharp with unease. The Elantri speaking glimmered in gold, their form contracting slightly as if recoiling from the unfamiliarity. "I don't know," Urshai admitted, "but it's not random. There is a pattern here, a purpose." Virek approached, his light intensifying as he examined the signal. "It originates from a spiral arm on the galactic fringe," he said, his tone shifting to one of caution. "An insignificant corner of the cosmos. Perhaps it should remain that way." Urshai's glow pulsed with a burst of defiance. "Insignificant? Virek, this signal is unlike anything we've encountered. It's deliberate. Someone, something, is trying to communicate. We cannot ignore this." A tense silence filled the observatory, the collective hum of thought growing heavier. The Elantri, though advanced in their understanding of the universe, had always been wary of direct intervention. Their philosophy valued observation and introspection over action, a creed that had kept them safe but isolated. "Urshai," Virek said slowly, his form darkening, "if you pursue this, you risk drawing attention to us, attention we may not survive." She turned to face him fully, her light unwavering, "And if we ignore it, we may miss the most significant discovery of our existence. What is the purpose of all our knowledge, if not to understand what we do not yet know?" The debate reverberated through the station, the Elantri's collective mind wrestling with the decision. In the end, it was Urshai's unrelenting curiosity that tipped the balance. The council granted her permission to investigate, though not without reservations. "Proceed with caution," they warned her. "The unknown is a dangerous companion." Within cycles, the Elantri deployed their advanced probes, crystalline devices that moved through the void with the grace of thought itself. The probes traversed light years in mere moments, their pathways guided by the coordinates Urshai had extracted from the signal. As they approached their destination, they encountered a star system teeming with vibrant energy. a yellow star orbited by a series of planets, each unique in composition and atmosphere. It was the third planet that drew their focus. Covered in vast swathes of blue and green, its surface was alive with movement. Oceans churned, winds swept across plains and mountains, and clouds painted ever-changing patterns in the sky. But it was the bursts of light and sound emanating from its surface that confirmed their discovery. This was the origin of the signal. The probes descended cautiously, their crystalline forms cloaked in a field that rendered them undetectable to the primitive technologies below. From their vantage point high above the atmosphere, they observed the beings responsible for the transmission. They called themselves humans. HFY watched the data streams from the probes with a mix of fascination and bewilderment. The humans were unlike anything the Elantri had encountered. They were solid, their forms constrained by flesh and bone, yet they moved with purpose, their faces alive with expressions that conveyed emotions the Elantri could only begin to interpret. They built structures vast and complex, shaping the environment to their will. They spoke in voices that carried through the air, their words brimming with emotion and intent. "What do you see, HFY?" Virek's voice resonated across the observation deck, his tone edged with skepticism. She turned to him, her light flickering with excitement. "I see potential, Virek. These beings, they are primitive, yes, but they are also extraordinary. They adapt, they create, they dream. Their world is chaotic, but it is also alive in ways we cannot fully comprehend." Virek's form darkened, his voice heavy with caution. "And that chaos is precisely why. We must be careful. You see potential, HFY. I see danger." HFY ignored his warning, her focus returning to the humans. She watched as they moved through their cities, their lives filled with a strange mixture of conflict and cooperation. One image in particular caught her attention. A young human, no more than a child, standing in a field as the sun set behind her. She was staring up at the sky, her face illuminated by a mixture of wonder and curiosity. In her hands she held a crude device, pointing it toward the stars as if trying to capture their light. The sight stirred something deep within HFY, a feeling she could not fully articulate. She turned to the others, her voice resolute. "We must learn more. These humans, they are on the brink of something. I can feel it. If we do not understand them now, we may regret it later." The Elantri Council hesitated, but ultimately conceded. They agreed to a closer observation, though they remained divided on the implications. As the probes descended further into the human world, HFY's anticipation grew. She did not yet know what the humans would reveal, but she was certain of one thing. Their story was only just beginning. The crystalline probes hovered silently above the atmosphere of Earth, their cloaking fields shimmering faintly as they observed the activity below. To the humans, they were invisible, a technological marvel far beyond anything conceived on the planet. But to the Elantri, the data streaming from the probes was a window into an entirely alien existence. The swirling clouds and pulsating cities teemed with energy, life, and motion. HFY remained in the central observatory of the Elantri station, her tendrils of light manipulating the holographic projections that displayed the humans' world. For days, the probes had recorded the humans' activities. Their cities were a symphony of chaos and ingenuity, with towering structures rising amidst the ebb and flow of organic growth. Vehicles of various shapes and sizes zipped through streets, filled with an endless variety of sounds. The hum of engines, the murmur of conversation, and the occasional sharp burst of laughter or anger. For HFY, it was an overwhelming cacophony, unlike the serene and harmonious existence of the Elantri. "They thrive in disorder," she murmured, her light pulsing with fascination. "Every movement, every action seems improvised." Virek's voice echoed through the station's telepathic link, his tone still wary. "Improvisation can lead to recklessness. Be careful not to mistake chaos for brilliance." HFY ignored the warning, focusing instead on a particular recording, being streamed by one of the probes. It showed a bustling marketplace, where humans bartered and exchanged goods under the harsh light of the midday sun. A young boy ran between the stalls, laughing as he clutched a kite crafted from bright paper and thin wooden slats. The kite danced in the wind, its colorful tail trailing behind it like a comet. "Look at them," Ershai said, her tone both contemplative and curious. "They create beauty in the simplest of things." Virek appeared beside her, his translucent form shimmering as he regarded the same scene. "Beauty does not equate to significance, Ershai. Remember that." But Ershai was no longer listening. Another feed had caught her attention, a faint, psychic signature detected in one of the more rural areas of the planet. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but it resonated in a way that reminded her of the Elantry's own energy fields. She focused the probe on the source, zooming in until the image revealed a small, isolated farmhouse, surrounded by endless fields of golden wheat. In the yard stood an elderly woman, her eyes closed as she leaned on a wooden cane. Her lips moved, silently, forming words that the Elantry could not comprehend. Around her, the air seemed to hum faintly, vibrating with an energy that made Ershai's form flicker in surprise. "Virek," she said, her voice sharp with intrigue, "there is something unusual here. This human, she resonates with energy, similar to our own." Virek hesitated before responding, his glow dimming slightly. "Impossible. Their biology cannot produce such energy." "And yet here it is," Ershai replied, her form brightening. "I must investigate further." The Council of Elantry, however, did not share her enthusiasm. When she presented her findings to them, their response was one of concern rather than curiosity. "Interference with primitive species is dangerous," one of the council members intoned, their light glowing a deep and foreboding red. "They are volatile, unpredictable. We observe, we do not interfere." "But this energy could be a connection," Ershai argued, her form pulsing with determination. "A bridge between our worlds. If we ignore this, we may miss an opportunity to understand something greater than ourselves." The council remained divided, but after much deliberation, they granted Ershai limited permission to explore further. "Do not make contact," they warned. "The humans must not know of us." Ershai complied, for the moment. She redirected one of the probes to focus exclusively on the elderly woman and her surroundings. As the days passed, the probe recorded her daily routines, tending to her modest garden, feeding chickens, and sitting beneath an ancient oak tree with her cane resting across her lap. But what intrigued Ershai most was the woman's habit of speaking to the sky. Every evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, she would stand at the edge of her field and raise her face to the heavens. Her words, though inaudible, carried a resonance that Ershai could feel even from the station. One evening, as the woman performed this ritual, a change occurred. The probe detected a spike in the energy field around her, and for the first time, faint tendrils of light began to emanate from her form. Ershai's pulse quickened as she watched the phenomenon unfold. "She's connecting to something," Ershai said aloud, her excitement bleeding into the telepathic link. "Or she's losing control of something," Virek countered, his tone grim. "You're treading on dangerous ground, Ershai." Ignoring his caution, Ershai delved deeper into the phenomenon, adjusting the probe's settings to capture the energy field in greater detail. What she saw astonished her. The woman's energy wasn't just similar to the Elantry's, it was almost identical. The realization sent ripples through Ershai's form. How could a being so biologically different possess such a connection? Her thoughts were interrupted when the probe's sensors picked up movement in the distance. A group of humans, armed, with strange devices, approached the farmhouse. They moved with purpose, their faces grim and their voices hushed. Ershai quickly redirected another probe to follow them, her mind racing with questions. "Virek," she said urgently, "humans are converging on the site. I believe they've detected the energy field as well. And what do you plan to do about it?" Virek's tone was sharp, his form flickering with disapproval. "You've already stretched the Council's permission far enough." Ershai hesitated. The Council's warnings echoed in her mind, but she couldn't ignore the growing tension unfolding below. The armed humans reached the farmhouse just as the elderly woman stepped out onto her porch. She looked at them calmly, her face serene despite the weapons pointed in her direction. "You shouldn't be here," one of the men said, his voice cold. "This land, it's not normal. Neither are you." The woman smiled faintly, her eyes glinting with something that could have been amusement or defiance. "Normal is a matter of perspective," she replied, her voice steady. "You fear what you don't understand." As the confrontation escalated, the energy field around the woman began to intensify. The humans reacted with alarm, their voices rising as they barked orders and adjusted their weapons. Ershai watched in silence, torn between her duty to observe and her growing desire to intervene. She could feel the tension building, like a storm on the verge of breaking, and then, without warning, the woman raised her hand. The energy around her exploded outward, a dazzling wave of light that enveloped the entire area. The humans froze, their faces etched with shock as the light passed through them. When it faded, they stood motionless, their weapons lowered, their expressions blank. Ershai's form pulsed violently, her mind struggling to process what she had just witnessed. "Vyrek," she whispered, her voice trembling. "This changes everything." The Peregrina, now orbiting the Earth in its cloaked state, was more than just an observation point. It had become a vessel of questions, theories, and conflicting ideologies. The energy surge caused by the elderly human woman had stunned Ershai and her team. The data collected by the probes revealed a phenomenon that defied Elantri understanding, sparking debates that echoed through the halls of their crystalline station. Ershai floated in the main observation chamber, her glow pulsating faintly as she reviewed the recordings. The elderly woman had remained calm amidst the chaos she had created. The armed humans, now passive and silent, had dispersed shortly after. The energy wave dissipated, their memories seemingly erased or suppressed. The field around the woman had stabilized, but faint tendrils of light continued to ripple in the air around her. Vyrek entered the chamber, his form dimmer than usual, a sign of unease. "This anomaly," he began, his tone heavy, "has drawn far too much attention. Even now, human organizations are converging on the site. They've detected something beyond their comprehension. We should withdraw." Ershai turned toward him, her luminescence brightening with determination. "Withdraw. Vyrek, this is the most significant discovery of our existence. This human, she, resonates with an energy that matches ours. How can we walk away from that?" Vyrek's form darkened, his glow flickering like a dying flame. "Because curiosity unchecked leads to catastrophe. You've already seen how volatile they are. What if they learn to harness this energy? What if they turn it into a weapon?" Ershai's response was immediate, her voice firm. "And what if they don't? What if this is the key to understanding something greater than ourselves? Vyrek, you've always been cautious, but this is not the time for retreat. It's the time for action." Before Vyrek could respond, a new pulse of energy rippled through the chamber. The holographic display lit up with an alert, a signal from one of the probes still stationed near the farmhouse. Ershai quickly focused on the feed, and what she saw made her form flicker with both excitement and alarm. A group of vehicles had arrived at the site, carrying humans equipped with advanced scanning devices. Unlike the earlier group, these individuals appeared more organized and methodical, their movements precise and deliberate. They set up equipment around the farmhouse, their scanners emitting faint hums as they swept the area for residual energy. "They've escalated," Vyrek said, his tone grim. "These aren't ordinary humans, they're scientists or perhaps something more dangerous." Ershai observed the scene intently. The elderly woman stood on the porch, watching the humans, with an expression of quiet amusement. She made no effort to interfere, even as one of the humans approached her with what appeared to be a recording device. The interaction was brief. The human asked a series of questions, to which the woman responded with cryptic, measured words. Her answers seemed to confuse rather than clarify, and the humans retreated to their equipment, their discussions growing increasingly animated. "They're trying to understand," Ershai said softly. "They're curious, just like us." "And that curiosity will be their undoing," Vyrek replied. "Mark my words, Ershai, this will not end well." The Elantri Council convened shortly after the incident. The chamber where they gathered was a vast luminescent dome, its crystalline walls pulsing with the collective energy of its members. Ershai stood before the council, her form glowing with urgency as she presented. Her findings, "The humans are at a crossroads," she began. "This phenomenon is unlike anything we've encountered, and it's tied to their development as a species. We must continue to observe, perhaps even intervene." The Council's reaction was mixed. Some members flickered with cautious agreement, their light oscillating in patterns of deliberation. Others glowed red with dissent, their thoughts projecting warnings of interference and unintended consequences. "We cannot risk exposing ourselves," one council member said, their form shifting with intensity. "The humans are unpredictable, and their history is marked by conflict. If they perceive us as a threat, it could lead to disaster, for them and for us." "But what if we are the key to guiding them?" Ershai countered, her light pulsating. With passion. "This energy, it connects us. It's not just a discovery, it's a bridge. We have an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to perhaps find a shared purpose." The council deliberated for what felt like an eternity, their collective thoughts swirling in a kaleidoscope of colors. In the end, a compromise was reached. Ershai and her team would be allowed to continue their observations, but direct contact remained forbidden. The humans could not know of the Elantri, not yet. As Ershai returned to her station, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were running out of time. The humans' curiosity was growing, their investigations intensifying. It was only a matter of time before they uncovered something that would change the balance irrevocably. Back on Earth, the elderly woman continued her quiet existence, seemingly unaffected by the increasing human presence around her. But as night fell, something shifted. The air around the farmhouse grew heavy, charged with an almost tangible energy. The woman stepped outside, her cane tapping lightly against the wooden porch. She looked up at the sky, her expression calm but expectant. The Elantri probes detected the spike in energy immediately. Ershai, monitoring the feed, felt a ripple of unease as the energy field around the woman expanded, reaching out toward the heavens. It was as if she were calling to something or someone. "What is she doing?" Virek's voice cut through the tension, his tone sharp with concern. Ershai didn't answer. Her focus was entirely on the screen, where the woman's form now glowed faintly, her outline blurring as the energy around her intensified. The humans on the ground scrambled to adjust their equipment, their voices rising in alarm as their instruments overloaded. And then it happened. A beam of light shot down from the sky, striking the field around the woman and enveloping her in a cascade of brilliance. The humans fell silent, their faces lit by the otherworldly glow. When the light faded, the woman was gone, leaving behind only a faint shimmer in the air. Ershai's form pulsed violently, her mind racing. "She's transcended," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Or she's been taken." Virek's glow darkened. "And now the humans will demand answers. They will dig deeper, and they may find us." The station was silent as the implications of what they had witnessed sank in. For Ershai, the questions multiplied. Who or what had answered the woman's call, and what would the humans do now that they had seen the impossible? The Elantri could only watch, their place as silent observers growing increasingly precarious. The Earth was no longer just an observation point. It had become a focal point for questions that even the Elantri couldn't answer. The disappearance of the elderly woman had rippled across the planet. The humans, ever curious and deeply unsettled, began to act. News networks speculated wildly about the event, labeling it everything from an alien abduction to a divine miracle. The scientific community was in a frenzy, dispatching teams to the site to analyze the residual energy. Across the galaxy, in the crystalline halls of the Elantri station, Ershai and her team watched with growing unease. On the observation deck, the glowing forms of the Elantri gathered around a central projection. The field around the farmhouse had stabilized, but traces of energy still lingered. Humans in white lab coats scurried across the site, setting up more sophisticated equipment, their faces a mixture of determination and tension. Ershai floated at the center, her luminous blue glow dimmed slightly by the weight of what had happened. "They're evolving in their approach," she murmured, her voice a faint echo across the chamber. "These humans, they adapt so quickly." Virek, standing beside her, pulsed faintly, his tone grim. Adaptation or desperation, their history is littered with destruction caused by their so-called curiosity. What makes you think this time will be any different? Urshai turned to face him, her form brightening with resolve. Because this time we are watching. This time we can ensure it doesn't spiral into chaos. The council had been clear. No direct intervention, yet Urshai felt the boundaries of their non-interference policy beginning to fray. The humans were drawing closer to the truth, and their relentless pursuit of answers threatened to bring the Illantry into the spotlight. Still, she couldn't shake the belief that there was more to this than simple curiosity. The disappearance of the woman wasn't an ending. It was a beginning. On Earth, the humans had started to notice anomalies extending beyond the farmhouse. Reports of strange lights and sudden energy surges began cropping up in other regions of the planet. In one such instance, a bustling city center was briefly plunged into silence as all electronic devices failed simultaneously. Witnesses described a faint shimmering in the air, a phenomenon that left scientists scrambling for explanations. The pattern was unmistakable. Whatever had taken the elderly woman wasn't confined to one place. Urshai directed the probes to investigate these new incidents. As they observed, a concerning pattern emerged. The energy was spreading. It wasn't just the humans who were being affected. The environment itself seemed to respond. Plants in the affected areas grew at accelerated rates, their forms twisting into shapes that defied natural biology. Animals avoided these regions, their instincts warning them of a presence they couldn't comprehend. "This isn't just an event," Urshai said during a council meeting, her tone urgent. "It's a transformation. Whatever took the woman, it's leaving a mark on this world. We must understand it before it's too late." The council deliberated, their forms shifting in a kaleidoscope of colors as they debated. Some argued for immediate withdrawal, fearing that the Illantry's presence would only complicate matters further. Others, swayed by Urshai's conviction, advocated for closer observation. In the end, they allowed her to continue, but with strict limitations. "Do not be seen," the council warned her. "Do not interfere." Despite the restrictions, Urshai couldn't ignore the sense of urgency building within her. The humans were inching closer to understanding the energy field, but their methods were clumsy, and their tools were insufficient. She watched as they struggled, their instruments faltering in the presence of forces they couldn't quantify. And yet, they persisted. One night, as Urshai monitored the feeds, she noticed something unusual. A small team of humans had broken away from the main research groups. They moved under the cover of darkness, carrying equipment that seemed far more advanced than anything the others had been using. Their destination wasn't the farmhouse, it was one of the regions where the energy anomalies had spread. "Who are they?" Virek asked, his tone sharp with suspicion. Urshai focused on the group, her tendrils of light manipulating the probes to enhance the feed. The humans wore dark uniforms with no identifiable markings, their faces obscured by masks. They moved with precision, their actions deliberate. It was clear they weren't scientists, at least not ordinary ones. "They know something," Urshai said, her voice a mix of curiosity and concern. "Or they suspect it." The group reached a clearing deep in the forest where the energy field was strongest. Without hesitation, they began setting up devices that emitted faint rhythmic pulses. Urshai recognized the pattern immediately. It was a frequency designed to interact with the energy field. The humans weren't just studying the phenomenon, they were trying to manipulate it. "This is reckless," Virek said, his form flickering with alarm. "If they destabilize the field, the consequences could be catastrophic." Urshai hesitated, torn between her orders and her instincts. She knew she couldn't interfere directly, but watching the humans tamper with forces they didn't understand was agonizing. As the devices activated, the energy field began to ripple, its intensity fluctuating wildly. The humans reacted with a mixture of excitement and panic, their voices rising as their equipment struggled to maintain control. And then, the field erupted. A surge of light and energy exploded outward, knocking the humans off their feet. The forest around them shimmered, the trees bending as if caught in a powerful wind. For a moment the clearing was bathed in an otherworldly glow, and then, as suddenly as it had begun, The energy receded. Ershai's probes captured everything, but what happened next left her speechless. Standing in the center of the clearing, where there had once been empty space, was a figure. It wasn't the elderly woman. This being was taller, its form faintly humanoid but radiating light and energy in waves. Its presence was overwhelming, its very existence challenging the Elantries' understanding of physical reality. The humans stared, their expressions a mixture of awe and terror. One of them stepped forward, speaking in a language the Elantry couldn't fully translate. The being turned to face them, its glowing eyes focusing intently on the speaker. And then it spoke. Not in words, but in a resonance that reverberated through the air, the ground, and even the Elantry probes. "We are the Echo," it said, its voice both ancient and new. "You have awakened us." Ershai's form pulsed violently as the words resonated through her mind. She turned to Vyrek, who was equally stunned. His glow dimmed with disbelief. "The Echo," Vyrek repeated. "Could it be—" Ershai didn't respond. Her focus was entirely on the figure in the clearing, the energy radiating from it unlike anything she had encountered. The Echo's presence was a paradox, both impossible and inevitable, a force that had been waiting for this exact moment. As the humans tried to process what they were seeing, the Echo raised a hand, and the energy field around it expanded once more. The probe's sensors flared with activity, capturing readings that defied logic. Ershai knew this was only the beginning, but for the first time, she felt a twinge of fear. The Echo's arrival had changed everything, and its next move could determine the fate of not just Earth, but the Elantry as well. The presence of the Echo on Earth had thrown both the humans and the Elantry into chaos. For humanity, it was a revelation that defied everything they thought they knew about existence. The appearance of the luminous humanoid figure in the forest was now the subject of global headlines. Governments scrambled to control the narrative, while secretive organizations worked in the shadows to decipher the data their agents had managed to record. Across the galaxy, in the crystalline halls of the Elantry station, the council was in turmoil. Ershai stood in the observation chamber, her glowing form pulsing with agitation. The Echo's arrival had changed everything. It was no longer just about observing humanity. The Echo's existence was proof that something far larger was at play. She replayed the footage from the probes, analyzing the way the being moved, the patterns of light it emitted, and the resonance of its voice. Every detail felt intentional, as if the Echo had chosen this moment in time for its awakening. "This is no coincidence," she said aloud, her voice reverberating through the chamber. The Echo waited for them, for the humans. It chose this moment. Vyrek stood nearby, his glow dim with caution. "And why them? Why not us? We've searched the stars for answers, for meaning, and yet this force reveals itself to primitives who can barely comprehend their place in the universe." Ershai turned to him, her light brightening. "Perhaps that's precisely why the humans, for all their flaws, have something we lack. They question, they push boundaries, they dare to explore the impossible." Vyrek's form flickered with frustration. "And yet their recklessness could destroy them, and us. The Echo's energy is spreading. Have you seen the latest reports from their planet?" Ershai nodded, her light dimming slightly. She had seen the data. The energy field surrounding the Echo's arrival site had not dissipated. Instead, it was growing, slowly but steadily, expanding outward and altering everything it touched. Forests were transforming, their trees glowing faintly under the influence of the energy. Rivers shimmered with light, their waters carrying traces of the same resonance. Even the air seemed charged, vibrating with an unseen force. And it wasn't just Earth that was affected. The Elantry station, though far from the planet, had begun to register faint anomalies in its own systems. Subtle shifts in the crystalline structure of their station, changes in the harmonic balance of their energy fields, signs that the Echo's influence was not confined to one world. "The Echo's reach extends beyond Earth," Ershai said, her voice quieter now, tinged with awe. "It's like a ripple through the fabric of existence. If we don't understand it, we may never grasp what's truly happening." The Elantry Council convened in an emergency session. The luminous, Dome of the council chamber pulsed with activity as its members debated the next course of action. Some called for immediate withdrawal from the sector, fearing that continued proximity to the Echo's energy would jeopardize their species. Others argued that they had a responsibility to remain to uncover the truth behind this phenomenon. "We have observed for millennia," one council member said, their light shifting in slow, deliberate patterns. "This is different. This is unprecedented. But it is not our place to interfere," another countered, their glow flaring sharply. "The humans have invited chaos into their world. Let them deal with its consequences." Ershai stepped forward, her form glowing with determination. "Council members, with all respect, this is no longer just about humanity. The Echo's influence is spreading. It has reached beyond Earth, beyond their solar system. If we retreat now, we may never understand what it is, or why it's here." The chamber fell silent, the council's collective glow dimming as they processed her words. Finally, the eldest member of the council spoke, their light a deep, steady gold. "You may continue your observations, Ershai, but you are forbidden. From direct contact, whatever happens, the Elantri must remain unseen." Ershai bowed her form in acknowledgement, though she couldn't shake the feeling that their caution was misplaced. Humanity was on the brink of something extraordinary, or catastrophic, and the Elantri's role as passive observers felt increasingly inadequate. On Earth, the Echo's presence continued to alter the course of events. The humans, initially, paralyzed by awe and fear, had begun to take action. Military forces cordoned off the forest where the Echo had appeared, turning it into a restricted zone. Scientists and researchers worked around the clock, their efforts fueled by a mix of curiosity and desperation. Despite their advanced equipment, they struggled to comprehend the Echo's energy. Instruments overloaded, data defied logical interpretation, and the few who ventured too close reported strange visions, fleeting images of stars collapsing, galaxies forming, and beings that existed beyond the bounds of time. The Echo itself remained in the clearing, motionless yet profoundly alive. It radiated an energy that seemed to hum with intention, as if it were waiting. For what, no one could say. And then one night something changed. The Elantri probes detected a massive spike in the Echo's energy field. Ershai, monitoring the feeds from her station, felt a jolt of alarm as the resonance intensified, spreading across the planet and beyond. The humans on site scrambled, their voices filled with panic as their equipment failed one by one. In the clearing, the Echo raised its hand, and the energy surged outward in a wave of light that blanketed the forest. When the light faded, the clearing was no longer the same. The trees had transformed, their trunks crystalline and their leaves glowing softly. The ground itself shimmered, as if embedded with stardust. But it wasn't just the environment that had changed. Standing before the Echo were three figures, humans who had been caught in the energy surge. They were no longer entirely human. Their forms glowed faintly, their eyes filled with an otherworldly light. They looked at the Echo, then at each other, as if sharing a silent understanding. "What have you done?" Virek's voice cut through the silence of the observation chamber, his form flickering with alarm. Ershai didn't answer immediately. Her focus was entirely on the transformed humans. The Echo had done something to them, changed them in ways she couldn't yet comprehend. Were they conduits for its energy, messengers, or something else entirely? As the figures began to move, the Echo spoke once more, its voice resonating across both Earth and the Elantri station. "The awakening has begun," it said. "Prepare." Ershai's glow dimmed, her thoughts racing. This was no longer just about humanity's curiosity or the Elantri's observation. The Echo's words carried weight, a promise and a warning. Whatever was coming, it would not be confined to one planet or one species. The universe itself had been set into motion, and neither humanity nor the Elantri could stop what was about to unfold.